Hello everyone, can you hear me? Hello everyone, can you hear me? Am I audible, guys? Okay, wonderful. So let's just wait for people to come in and settle down. Am I audible, guys? Okay, wonderful. So let's just wait for people to come in and settle down. So, how many of you are absolute newcomers to point and figure? As in, you don't know how to read the chart or what are the basic signals and stuff like that. If you're absolutely new, just type in new so that I'll get an idea about what the composition of the attendees are. Anyone who doesn't know anything about point and figure at all? If you're new, just type in NEW so that I will get to know. Okay, okay, fine. So we have a few people who are absolutely new. So while we wait for people to come in and settle down, let me just quickly tell you or show you what a point and figure chart is and how it looks and what is a basic buy and sell signal. And we will get started with the proper webinar with our agenda maybe in 5 minutes time. So what you see now is a intraday chart of forget the instrument. It's a basic point and figure chart. This represents intraday price action, and the gray vertical lines that you see on your screen is the day separating lines. So this vertical line represents the start of today's trading. This one is previous day, that is yesterday's trading, and this one is Friday, and so on. Right. So you will always find alternating columns of O and X in a point and figure chart, and column of X represents rising prices, column of O represents falling prices. So you'll always see alternating columns of X and O. So your basic buy signal happens when the column of X, if it breaks out above the high of the previous column of X, you get a buy signal. So the buy signal got triggered when this X at 434 thereabouts got printed. Similarly, a basic sell signal happens when a column of O falls or breaks down below the previous column of O, right? So when this O got printed, your basic sell signal got triggered. Is it clear? So if you take the short position here where the sell signal got triggered and based on the rules that you have, if you decide to go ahead and take this short trade, your stop loss is going to be at a level where a buy signal will be triggered, which will be one box above the this column of X. Is that clear, the logic? Similarly, if you decide for whatever reason to take this long trade, your stop loss is going to be at the most at the next sell signal, which will happen one box below this column of O. Clear? Any questions, doubts? So basically, the software will give you the level at which the buy signal will be triggered, and what will be the level at which the sell signal will be triggered, and stuff like that. So before taking the trade, you will clearly know and you can objectively find out where the buy or sell signal is going to be triggered and where the stop loss will be. Give me a second, guys. Yeah, yeah, I started talking. Yeah. Start broadcast, and a lot of people are responding. Sorry, guys. Yeah, the time frame that we generally prescribe for intraday trading is use a 1 minute close only price and use a box size of 0.15%. So that is a default setting that we prescribe, and of course based on your style of trading and stuff like that, you can always play around with the time frame as well as the box size. So getting back to our discussion, your basic buy or sell signal, I just explained it a little while ago. So your stop loss is always going to be a function of the number of boxes in the previous column. Is that clear? What determines the stop loss? The more the number of entries in the column prior to the entry column, the wider the stop loss will be. If you have fewer number of entries in this column, the smaller will be the stop loss. Is that logic clear to everyone? And the reversal box value by default, please stick to 3 until you gain proficiency with point and figure charts and how to analyze them and how to use them, until you have gained a fair level of experience. Just stick to a default setting of 3 box reversal. So for all practical purposes for the presentation today, we are going to stick to 1 minute close only prices. The default box size is going to be 0.15%. And what we are discussing today is primarily for educational purposes. This is not meant to be a trade recommendation or a trade advisory stuff or anything like that. So I'm just trying to teach or highlight a few concepts from a trading perspective. That's it. So do you have any other questions, guys, before we get started? Especially the newcomers, do you now have a basic idea about how a point and figure chart looks and what will be the basic buy and sell signal and stuff like that? What is the relevance of the time frame on point and figure chart? See, obviously, we need to decide which data point to look at to determine whether we should plot the chart or not, isn't it? So, actually speaking, the x-axis in a point and figure chart doesn't capture or represent time. So, the point and figure chart gets populated based on the price movement. But obviously, if we are talking about price movement, we will have to decide whether it is going to be a 1 minute price movement that we are talking about, or a 15 minute, or a daily, or a weekly, or whatever, right? So that's where the time frame comes into account. It depends on what kind of trader you are. But otherwise, the point and figure as such ignores time. We are more interested in the price action. Okay, guys, let's get started with the presentation for the day. So, in trade point, sorry, not in trade point, in point and figure in general, we have a concept called follow through. So, what we mean by the concept of follow through is that when you have a bullish or a bearish pattern, and when you have a subsequent buy or a sell signal which is in sync with the previous pattern, then we call that a secondary buy or sell signal as a follow through signal, right? So for instance, here we had a pattern called a a bull trap pattern, wherein you got a buy signal immediately followed by a sell signal. So the secondary sell signal that you get here, this will be your classic follow through signal. The advantage with trading these follow through signals is that you stack up odds in your favor, and the other big advantage is that your stop loss invariably will be very affordable, right? You can also have other filters such as a moving average, just to ensure that the trend is in sync with the trade direction that you're planning to take. So there are a lot of patterns that we talk about in point and figure, right? The popular ones being a triangle pattern, or a bull trap, or a bear trap, or a low pole, or a triple top buy, or a triple bottom sell. So these are the popular patterns. So what we can do is we can just decide to focus on the follow through entries. So, for instance, here, when this sell signal got triggered in Kajaria Ceramics, this is the sell signal that got triggered today, a little while ago, somewhere immediately after the market had opened. So, as I told you, we had a bull trap pattern followed by a sell signal, and price was below the moving average. So, definitely, this trade could have been taken. The stop loss is going to be, if I place the cursor on this column of X, if you notice, there is something called the continuation box size here. That is going to be your stop loss, right? So if I place the cursor on the column of X, the continuation box is 442.05. So that is where your buy signal will be triggered, and that's where you're going to place your stop loss. So your entry is going to be at 438.10, and your stop loss is going to be at 445, and your position would have been stopped out here when the buy signal got triggered, right? So one good thing that we have with trade point is that it has the ability to run live scanners. So what you can do is there are predefined scanners that is available. If you go to scanner, right, and go to real-time scanners, choose point and figure, and here you have these two candidates, right? Follow through bearish and follow through bullish. So I have already chosen those two scanners here, and this scanner will run on a live basis, and it will throw out candidates where a follow through buy or a follow through sell signal has been triggered. So we can randomly pick up any stock and see how effective this pattern is. So if you notice here, we had a sell pattern, which is again, this is almost similar to your Kajaria ceramics, right? The pattern is the same here. You had a bull trap followed by a follow through signal, a secondary sell signal, and it would have been a nice profitable trade today. Tata Steel. Let's check out Wokat Pharma. So basically, I hope you guys get the idea. So let's look at some bullish candidates for the day. So here, if you notice, we have a low pole pattern which was completed, and we have a secondary buy signal, which is why the software has picked up this candidate, which is Muthoot Finance. So your buy signal would have been triggered at 446.72, and your stop loss is going to be at 442.72. And the other advantage with trading these follow through signals is that you will invariably have a decent target to play around with. So in this case, the vertical count target works out to 450.75, and the second target is 455.51. So the sentiment being bearish today, let's focus on the follow through sell signals, or the follow through bearish candidates. So we can in fact take any stock at any stock randomly, and you will see the benefit of trading these follow through patterns. So in this case, if you notice, we have a triple bottom sell here. This is Century Textiles intraday. So the today's trading started at this gray line. So roughly around say 9:35 or so, you got a triple bottom sell signal, and which was followed by a secondary sell signal, which is called as a in this case a triple bottom cell followed by a double bottom cell. This particular pattern is called as a bearish catapult. So this was a nice little trade here, isn't it? Your sell signal would have been triggered at 904.96, or roughly say take it as 904. Your stop loss would have been at 913, and price now is at 900. So you can of course play around with the box size and the time frame also. But what I'm showing here is for extreme short term intraday trading, wherein the risk will be very affordable. In fact, as I told you, we can make a custom built scanner also, wherein you can also define the risk. See, in this case, if you notice, this is a nice trade, isn't it? Again, you have a bull trap, and you had a follow through sell signal with a very affordable stop loss in IOC. Let's check out Aurobindo Pharma. So again, the same deal here. We had a high pole pattern, and we have a follow through sell signal in Aurobindo Pharma. So your stop loss is going to be at 819.80, or have it at 820. So what you can in fact do is, the scanner that we have here, the what shall I say, the predefined scanners that we have here, it will basically throw out candidates wherein a buy or a sell signal has already been triggered. So I have for the purposes of this webinar, I have created a custom built scanner which will throw out candidates wherein the signal is yet to be triggered, and wherein the risk is also very limited. So I've just created a scanner which takes care of these two conditions, wherein the follow through signal is about to be triggered, and wherein the risk is also very affordable. So if you notice, in the case of Bata India, we have again a bull trap pattern, and if a sell signal gets triggered, it is going to be a follow through sell signal, and your stop loss is going to be at 1051.30. So this is one of the best features of the TradePoint software, wherein you can objectively define how many boxes that should be present in the previous column, which will define the risk. So what I have defined here, or given as a condition, is that the number of boxes in the penultimate column, which will define your stop loss, it should not be more than 5 boxes. So the scanner is going to pick up only those candidates wherein the number of boxes in the penultimate column is going to be 5 or lesser. So if you think that not too many candidates are being picked up from a trading perspective, you can probably increase the number of boxes in that condition in the penultimate column, so that far more candidates are picked up on the given day. So you can just play around with your conditions there. So again, if you notice, Dr. Reddy is again an interesting candidate. Again, the same deal here: a bull trap followed by a follow through sell signal. Again, if the stock appears in this scanner here, these are potential candidates. So eventually, these candidates, once the signal is triggered, it will get populated in the scanner on the left. The scanner on the left is the predefined scanner, wherein the follow through signal has already been triggered. So what I have done is, I have created a scanner which will basically pick up those candidates which are likely follow through candidates. Does it make sense? So the scanner out here is nothing but the same set of conditions, but we are looking at potential follow through buy signals. Of course, I typically don't want to trade any of these candidates today because the overall sentiment today is not bullish. So why would I waste my time and energy on potential long candidates, right? I would rather focus on the candidates where a follow through sell signal might be triggered. So in the case of Bata India, the sell signal has just been triggered. So your stop loss is going to be at 1051.30, 1051.30. So again, Mariko, if you look at it, the same deal here, isn't it? Again, it's a basic buy signal followed by the sell signal, which is nothing but a bull trap. And if we get a fresh sell signal, it's going to be a follow through. And we also have a broadening pattern here. I'm not getting into the nuances of the broadening pattern, but this is a broadening pattern as well as a bull trap. So bull trap is nothing but you have a buy signal immediately followed by a sell signal. Similarly, a bear trap is going to be a sell signal immediately followed by a buy signal. So this will be a classic case of bear trap wherein you have a sell immediately followed by a buy signal. So let's quickly take a look at Nifty and Bank Nifty before we wind up the show. So for intraday trading in Bank Nifty, we typically recommend 5 points absolute box size. So again, as I told you, the gray lines are day separating lines, and the last gray line that you see on your screen represents the start of today's trading. So we had a gap down, a small pullback, and a sell signal has been triggered. And if the sell signal or the short position was taken, your stop loss is going to be one box above the high of this column of X, which is where the buy signal will be triggered. And that level is 10,845. Right. And of course, there are also some downside targets that have opened up. So 10,730 and 635 are likely targets. Of course, these targets will be relevant as long as the price stays above the high of this column of X. So if price were to go about 10,925, then these targets will be invalidated. Okay. And we can take a quick look at Bank Nifty as well. Let's see what the patterns are suggesting. Okay, before we get to Bank Nifty, this again is a follow through sell here, isn't it? We have a buy followed by a sell signal, which is nothing but a bull trap. And this sell signal is a follow through sell signal. If you notice, it's offering you a low risk entry here. So Bank Nifty for intraday purposes, we recommend a box size of 10 and 1 minute close only prices. Again, the pattern is almost similar, just that in Bank Nifty, the secondary or follow through sell signal is yet to be triggered, whereas in Nifty, the sell signal has been triggered. But pattern wise, it's almost the same. You have a bull trap, and maybe possibly we can get a follow through sell signal. So the follow through sell signal has not yet happened. And of course, for Bank Nifty, if we were to talk about possible targets, the vertical count targets works out to 26,380 and 26,140, and these targets will be valid as long as the price stays about 26,870. So if price were to go about 26,870, then these downside targets will be invalidated. Okay, so Anand's question is, he uses triple top buy and triple bottom sell, and the stop loss gets hit. Triple top buy and sell are high probability patterns, but if the stop loss gets hit, you just can't do anything about it, right? It's just one of those losing trades. Obviously, you must have worked out your win loss ratio for the system, isn't it? So if says 60% of your trades are winners, then 40% are going to be losers, and if the stop loss gets hit, you'll have to just work on the assumption that the losing trade was part of that 40% losers. Okay, box values for Nifty, for intraday Nifty futures, you can use a 5 point box size, absolute. For stock futures, we recommend a percentage based or log based box size. So the recommended box size there will be 0.15%. But for index, for Nifty futures, you can settle for a 5 point box size. For Bank Nifty futures, you can choose a 10 point box size. Again, these are broad recommendations. So there is no hard and fast rule that you must be using 5 points only or 10 points only. So depending upon what type of trader you are, you can play around with the box size. If you increase the box size, it will result in a fewer number of trades being triggered. And on the other side, if you decrease the box size, a lot more trades will be triggered. How can we create a scanner? There are detailed explanations about how to create custom built scanner. So once you subscribe to the software, we can definitely help you design a scanner based on your requirement. It's very easy actually. If I can develop a custom built scanner, I'm sure anyone else can easily do it. It's very simple and very logical. So it's not going to take more than 2 to 3 minutes for you to develop a scanner. Yeah, the same conditions can be applied on EOD data also. You can run the same scanner on the EOD data also, definitely. So if you have any questions, I'm willing to address them. Otherwise, we'll just wrap it up, guys. We have another 2 3 minutes. So Voltas, you have this again, the same deal here. Buy followed by a sell, bull trap, and then a follow through sell signal. Let's see what Tata Motors DVR is up to. This is nice, isn't it? So you basically had a triangle breakdown and then a follow through sell signal here. And of course, you had a low pole, and this was a failure of a low pole pattern. So when a bullish pattern is invalidated or it fails, it adds to the bearishness, right? So basically, we had a triangle breakdown and then a follow through. So if you notice, Bata India was appearing in this probable candidates little while ago, and if you notice, Bata India is now figuring here because the conditions are satisfied for a follow through sell signal. The sell signal has also been triggered, which is why it's appearing in this window. So this window is nothing but a predefined or pre-built scanner, which lists out the candidates wherein a follow through sell or a buy signal has already been triggered. So this is the bullish candidates where follow through buy signal has been triggered, and the window below that, it gives you the candidates where a follow through sell signal has been already triggered, and these two are nothing but potential or probable candidates. So for example, Dr. Reddy, if a sell signal gets triggered, immediately Dr. Reddy will appear in this in this column or in this scanner. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to look for potential candidates where I can probably initiate a fresh trade. These are candidates where the signal or the trigger has already happened. So I may or may not get immediate actionable opportunity. So if you look at Allahabad Bank, for instance, a triangle breakdown and a follow through sell signal has happened. So I cannot take the trade here, isn't it? The stop loss is too wide. So though the scanner lists out ALBK, it's not an actionable idea for me. So which is why I created this scanner, so that I have a list of ideas which are potential candidates. Okay, guys, let's just wrap up here. I just hope that you found the presentation interesting. If you have any further questions or doubts or anything like that, you can mail me, or you can tag me in Twitter and ask the question. I will try to respond as quickly as possible. Thank you.